Are you a business owner or entrepreneur who's had great success in the business world, and now you want to launch a speaking career to share your message with the world? If that's you, then listen up. 25-year speaking industry veteran Brett Ridgway has released his latest special report, 3 key things entrepreneurs must master to build a profitable speaking business. To pick up your copy, go to brettridgway.com/freebie. Welcome to the Spotlight on Speaking show with Brett Ridgway, where you'll learn the keys to building a profitable speaking business from speaking industry pros. Each week, we interview a great guest who will share his or her speaking journey, identify what their keys to success have been, and highlight some critical mistakes they've made along the way that you'll want to avoid. Be sure to visit our website at spotlightonspeaking.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, sit back, tune in, and get ready to meet this week's guest.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Spotlight on Speaking show with Brett Ridgway. And I'm super excited about today's guest because it's a gentleman I've known for probably about 20 years or even a little more. And we go back to the internet circuit in the early days of when internet marketing seminars were getting going. But my guest today is Willie Crawford. And Willie's a veritable rags to riches story that some would even describe as a miracle. He grew up on a tobacco farm in North Carolina where his family was so poor that he once wore his grandmother's shoes to school when his only pair fell apart. Working as many as 3 part-time jobs, Willie attended North Carolina State University, where he was commissioned as a USAF officer, Air Force officer, upon graduation, and he served in the Air Force for almost 21 years. Before I say anything else, Willie, thank you for your service.
My pleasure. Thank you.
6 years before retiring from the military, Will started an internet-based business because that was something that he could work on in his spare time, no matter where his job as an air crew member on a cargo plane took him. Willie's online career really took off after he wrote a very successful soul food cookbook, and a seminar host who noticed his success asked Willie to speak at an internet marketing seminar in December of 2002. Speaking at the seminar, Willie met numerous other successful online entrepreneurs who also spoke at that event. Being bitten by the seminar bug, Willie went on to host 6 of his own seminars and attend well over 100 such events, speaking at about 80% of them around the world. Willie's published newsletters since 2000, and he's created numerous info products, podcasted, blog, built a successful social media presence that literally reaches over 10 million people, and directly coached and mentored hundreds of students. Today, Willie's primary focus is on working with offline brick-and-mortar businesses where he helps them to generate leads through a network of websites he has built. Welcome, Willie Crawford, to the Spotlight on Speaking show.
Thank you, Brett. I'm honored. Thank you.
Well, I'm really excited to catch up with you, Willie. So we go back to 2002, that first internet marketing event. So what event was that specifically? I'm sure you remember well.
Yeah, Dr. Bob Silver hosted it down in the Florida Keys at Hawks Cay. And the reason he invited me was because all the other speakers were making money teaching other people how to make money, basically. But I was making money from selling a cookbook. So he wanted to show people that you didn't necessarily have to be a make money online person to be successful, you know.
Bob Silver, there's a name that goes back a long way. And I was at that event in Hawks Cay. So.
Okay.
And then I remember I handled the back of the room for you. I think it was your first event in Pensacola, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah.
So
At
that
the
would have been what,
Bayfront
2003?
Inn. Yeah, 2003. I got so excited at the December event that I decided I was going to do my own. And 4 months later, I did my own in Pensacola. And then next year, I did another one on Okaloosa Island here in Florida.
All right. So you've done a lot of speaking. Did you do speaking in any capacity before you got hooked into the whole internet marketing world?
No. In the military, though, I was used to being in front of large groups of people. I briefed generals and foreign diplomats and all kinds of people. So I was used to speaking on stage, you know.
So in my mind, Willie, there are 3 primary types of speakers. One is a keynote speaker that we're all familiar with. Second is the world that you and I are most familiar with, which is I call the platform seller.
Right.
And then the third is what I just call the business builder speaker. Could be a attorney, a financial planner, whatever, who's just speaking to local groups to, build his credibility or whatever. So have you played in any of the other arenas besides the platform selling world?
Yeah, I've done the business building thing too. One of my friends, whose name I can't remember, Elson Eldridge Jr. wrote a book called
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote a book on how to uh, volunteer to speak at like local civic groups and things like that. And you pass out your cards, but you basically you're their entertainment during their meeting, and you teach them something, and they get back to you later, and a lot of them want to do business with you. So I've done that a lot.
So when you first spoke at that event down in Hawks Cay, what was the product that you offered back then? Because I'm sure it wasn't your soul food cookbook.
No, it was just mentoring on how to get started
Okay.
with whatever niche they chose. Because what I was doing was I was using internet marketing tactics to sell a cookbook, and so just the basics of list building and then following up with them and things like that. That works regardless of what space you're in. So I just offered. It was a very inexpensive package. In fact, Marty Foley and I, neither one of us even had slides. I was speaking off of index cards, note cards.
Man, your name is some names from the past there. Bob Silver, Marty Foley, Elsom Eldridge. Man, some
All friends.
icons in a sense. So when you got on that stage for the first time, in your mind, Willie, what was how do I word this? I mean, obviously you've been very successful at it because you were invited to speak at events around the world. But give me maybe your three biggest tips that you think make for a platform selling speaker to achieve success from that platform.
Well, first of all, you need to come across as being sincere, and that means you need to actually care about your customers. You want them to gain from whatever it is you're selling. Secondly, you need to have structured your presentation so that you have the close built in. If you're going to give a presentation and teach somebody something, and then all of a sudden transition to, okay, now I need to sell you something. It needs to flow smoothly. And
Right.
in fact, I took John Childers' $30,000 speaker training, and he taught you that to use neurolinguistic programming, and all along you're selling, but you write on your slides or somewhere, the time you should be at a certain point, and you stay on time so that you're not nervous. You follow your slides, uh, but you need to always be closing, so it needs to be a smooth transition. And a third tip for being a successful speaker is dry running your presentation so that you know it inside out, and there are no surprises. You don't get lost in your presentation.
So there would be those, Willie, that would say if you're using NLP on your audience that you're being manipulative in some way. How would you respond to that?
Well, one of my mentors, Jay Abraham, taught that I forget what he calls it, but he says if you know that your product will honestly improve your customers' lives, then you have an obligation to uh, offer it to them and to convince them that it's like you don't want the best for your child, so you almost think of your customers or your clients as it's the same as you would a child. You want the best for them. So if what you have will really help them, um, you've got to help them to make the decision, the right decision.
Okay. So the speaking world has changed dramatically over the last couple of decades, obviously. So when we first got started, you could come out with a product pretty much on anything, and you were about the only game in town. Now there's
Right.
tons of product on every subject under the world and all that stuff. So what advice would you give to people who are looking to get into internet marketing to stand out from the crowd? I mean, how do you be different these days when there's so much out there?
Yeah, I've been taught that first of all, probably 90% of internet marketers or people in that space aren't making any real money. So that means that most people are doing the wrong thing. So look at what they're doing, and I've been taught to do the opposite. Marty was the first person I heard use the expression, when they zig, you zag, but I've heard other people using that too. So it's like, if what they're doing is not working, don't do what they're doing. But I think the biggest thing is to honestly care about your customers, and want the best for them, which means you need to make sure the product works. It has to be credible, because there are a lot of people who they just want to put together something and make some money. And so they don't take the time to actually learn their topic. They may look at what somebody else is doing and copy what they're doing, but they don't know that's working. So
I've told the story before, Willie. I was at an event, and I think it was one of the big seminars. And the speaker had the dream scenario that every platform selling speaker would love, the true table rush. I mean, people were literally at the back table throwing their credit cards at us. And when all was said and done, the speaker had generated like $375,000 worth of sales. So he was quite happy, and that was all great and well and good and whatever. But what wasn't so great and good is that within the next 30 days, every single penny of that had to be refunded because the product he had sold was some kind of web development tool, a software tool or whatever, and they had some kind of bug they could not figure out. And every penny had to go back. And so not only was it majorly embarrassing for the speaker, it was a major financial hit to both the event promoter, the speaker, and our company for providing the back of the room services or whatever. So, yeah, I certainly think if you're speaking from the platform, you need to have a product that you know is complete, done, works, etc. Whether it's software, a training product, whatever it may be. I mean, none of us needs that kind of horror story.
Yeah, the only product that you need to not have developed and tested is if you're teaching a topic live, and like
right, yeah,
and that's actually a good model, because then you create the product and you can then resell the recordings of that product. But still, you have to know your topic. You have to be an expert at it and really have done your research and tested. It has to, what you're teaching still has to work.
So how have you adapted to the virtual world of speaking? Have you been done a lot of virtual speaking since?
I've done a lot of webinars, boot camps, took part in 3 or 4 day events where they give you it works about the same. You give your presentation, you make a pitch, and a lot of times you're given the list of the attendees on a webinar, and you can follow up with them as appropriate, so it works about the same.
So when you were speaking from the platform and at the live events, really going back a few years, what were the major things that you used to truly build rapport with your audience?
Well, first of all, a lot of speakers spoke. Some of them would come in dragging their suitcase behind them because they just got off an airplane, and then they'd give their presentation and leave. I made a point of showing up early, hanging out with the attendees, sitting around the lobby and things like that. So they knew me beforehand, and I hung around afterwards. I went to David Perdue's NAM seminars, for example, and I sat around the lobby, and he actually had a book where people could sign up and meet with me one-on-one and just chat with me about their goals and their objectives. So when I got on stage, they felt like, I knew them, they knew me. So I did that a lot.
That's such great advice. I mean, I hate the hit and run speaker. I mean, it's like you're just there for yourself. You're not there truly to help others, and we've all seen them. So
yeah, I always put my prospects and customers first. Like I was at one seminar where there was this elderly guy, and he bought every speaker's package prior to me, and then it was a $5,000 package I was selling, and he came to the back of the room and said, I want your package. And I said, tell me a little about yourself. He said, well, it looks good, and I'll be able to use it. And I said, what do you do? He says, nothing right now. And I said, so, do you even use your computer? He's like, no, not right now. Like, you don't need my product. And he was like disappointed I wouldn't sell it to him. But he struck me as a bit senile,
yeah.
And so I wasn't going to take his money,
Well, all right, I have some other questions I want to ask you, Willie, but before we do, let's take a quick break for a word from our sponsor.
Are you a business owner or entrepreneur who's had great success in the business world, and now you want to launch a speaking career to share your message with the world? If that's you, then listen up. 25-year speaking industry veteran Brett Ridgway has released his latest special report, 3 key things entrepreneurs must master to build a profitable speaking business. To pick up your copy, go to brettridgway.com/freebie.
are back with the Spotlight on Speaking show, and my guest this episode is Willie Crawford. And Willie's a legendary internet marketer, been involved in the business a long time. So now's the bare your soul part of the program, Willie, and that's share a mistake you've made along the way in terms of speaking that was embarrassing at the time, but a valuable lesson was learned, and it would be something that you would advise an aspiring speaker certainly not to do.
Well, one of the things, the mistake I made was I spoke at the World Internet Summit Singapore, and I discovered there that the people wanted a local contact. They knew that I was, in the United States and they're in Singapore, and they didn't feel comfortable buying from somebody who didn't have a local contact. So a lot of the other speakers had people in country that they could work with. So I made no sales from that presentation, even though the Singaporeans had lots of money, and they loved my presentation. It's just that they didn't feel that there was a way to get in touch with me if they needed me. That was one mistake I made. That's probably the most embarrassing one I've made.
And that's a long way to go to rack up zero sales, man.
Yeah, it is. But I had fun. And met a lot of really interesting people, nice people.
All right, so I want to give you a few minutes, Willie, to tell people a little bit more about what you're doing these days and how they can get involved in your world if they so choose.
Okay, I right now I'm focused on helping local offline business owners, and the reason is because those guys have budgets. They earmark a certain percentage of their money because they know if they don't advertise, they don't bring in new customers, they're going to go out of business. And so what I do is I send them leads. I have build lead generation websites. I build a site, I rank it near the top of the search engines, and then I rent it out to a local business, any business, a mom and pop shop or plastic surgeon or a realtor or a lawyer, and I generally go for the higher end people, the ones who have their customers have a large lifetime value, like a plastic surgeon or whatever. And then I also go for niches where there's actually quite a few businesses. So if I'm renting out a website to them and they choose not to continue renting from me, because I control the website, maintain ownership of it. If they choose not to continue doing business for me, I can turn around and rent it to one of their competitors. So they're not going to go away. And so I do that. And I also teach a course in how to do that. And the course, I'm actually under the process of revising now, but it's my website is at Rank Rent Retire, because that's what I plan on doing soon. My goal it was at one time to have about $100,000 a month coming in from the website rentals. Actually, it was higher than that, but I'd be happy with $100,000 a month from that because I have a lot of other income streams. And then just what you rank a website in the search engines takes very little to keep it ranked, if it's really well put together. And so then I could sit on the beach, I don't know, somewhere in the Philippines or Fiji or whatever, and run my business from there, So that's
How do people find you online? What's the best place to go?
I have a podcast that's broadcast all over the place, but easier to find on YouTube, youtube.com /The Modern Midas. King Midas is the one who everything you touch turned to gold. So I have The Modern Midas. I also have the website, themodernmidas.com. So themodernmidas.com, or my YouTube channel is youtube.com /The Modern Midas. And I'm all over social media. And I use my real name, and I'm easy to recognize, but I use the same picture everywhere, picture that's actually about 10 years old, but that's okay.
All right, so final words of wisdom, if you would, Willie, for a person who wants to be a platform selling speaker as to how to best achieve and thrive in that particular world.
And I've watched speakers bounce around on what their expertise was. I watched one speaker attend a seminar. I heard somebody give a presentation, and the next seminar I went to, he was presenting on that topic. He switched his field of expertise. I think you really need to pick a specialty and become really good at it so that you are the expert at it, which means you need to pick something that is going to be in demand for a while, and then really get to know your topic. And then you start branding yourself. And then they come to know you as that expert. Like me, I am, to a lot of groups that I hang out around, the internet expert. These are brick and mortar business owners.
Right.
So when I speak or even attend a networking meeting, they all look at me like that guy knows search engines and social media and things like that. So they all hang around me, and they text me and want advice and things. So I let them buy me dinner. But so it's really becoming known as the expert on one specific thing and not jumping around. So pick something that's going to be in demand. Like there'll always be a need for traffic. Everybody in the internet who has business online needs more traffic. So if you can really master traffic, then people will just flock to you, and they'll listen, they'll hang on to every word you say when you speak at a seminar because they want to know how to get more traffic. And a natural upsell is you offer your services or one of your trainings on how to generate traffic. It's always going to be in demand.
Without a doubt. So, Willie, I want to thank you sincerely for being my guest today on the Spotlight on Speaking show. I really appreciate you being able to catch up with you and you sharing some of your wisdom with our listeners. To all of our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining me. As always, I wish you the greatest of success in all that you do. And may 2023 and 2024 be your greatest years yet. Take care,
Absolutely.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This has been the Spotlight on Speaking show with Brett Ridgway. Be sure to join us every week as we interview speaking industry pros and have them share their best tips for building a profitable speaking business. Until next week, thank you for tuning in, and remember to visit our website at spotlightonspeaking.com so you can enjoy even more great episodes like this one. While you're here, be sure to subscribe via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Spotlight on Speaking show. Until then, our sincere best wishes to you for the greatest of success as you work to build your own profitable speaking business.